My name is Susan Hoffer, and I'm a 2023 artist resident at the Sam and Adele Golden Foundation for the Arts. When I was preparing to come to Golden, I was thinking a lot about changing up my grounds and experimenting. I was using the same oil paint with the same results. And even though I knew I could craft a good painting, I just wanted to learn new things. Did a lot of experimenting on these surfaces with gesso and this color. And that was really interesting to me. Just by changing up my ground, it created a whole new painting experience for me. This is a painting that I brought to Golden to experiment with ground and color. I like the translucency of the pastel ground, and then I use the quinacridone as a yellow gold, as a wash over the top. So I have the interplay, places where the ground shows through. I keep the paint in the refrigerator between painting sessions. I paint slowly, and I don't want the skins to become too thick. And each day I mix the paint skins into the paint so the viewer can see all these little lumps in some textured areas. I call them grog-like paint chips. They add vibrancy in the surface texture. I am working on a series of 3 paintings related to abortion, related to reproductive rights. And this woman was my neighbor. She's an ER doctor at a local hospital. My idea for the painting was to include hospital bracelets, that she's thinking about all of her patients. I live in a rural area. I paint rural people. I paint for my viewer, and I'm really interested in the notion of systemic change, inclusiveness, the changes in rural areas as people start listening to each other's stories more and feel that we've got to do better. So when I arrived at Golden and I met the other 2 residents, we started walking together in the evenings. Just talking about our process has been super helpful. We're learning together. We're having these conversations with the chemists together. And we've been really collaborating, and that's been a wonderful experience.
My name is Carol Prusa, and I am a 2023 artist resident at the Sam and Adele Golden Foundation for the Arts. I am an acrylic painter, but my work is based on silver point drawing. I like to read poetry or theories of everything from physics and philosophers, and try to make this kind of a limbic stew to prepare myself for creating a body of work. I worked with a Russian iconographer at Europa, and there I learned to grind my own pigments and using the water method to allow pigments to do what they will. And you can generate this kind of visual complexity in really unexpected ways that then you have to respond to. It creates new possibilities when you let pigments do what they will. Everything takes me a ridiculous amount of time, but it's a process I love. I mean, all I want to do is be in the studio working. I paint on the front and on the back. I try to give a visual experience on the back so that if somebody knew that, they could turn the piece over and they would also have this other thing on the back. Playing with the optics, I'm really interested in vision, optical effects, transparency, shimmer. And then I started to explore the potential of making all these pours, different paints with different medium. And it becomes really geological, but also astronomical. My work is really about why things are the way that they are, the enormity of the universe, and the mystery of it all. The materials have pushed me to be braver, take a risk, be a little more wanton with paint, to explore the possibilities of the paint and the optics in new and startling, refreshing ways. I plan to return to my studio in isolation, but to remember how gutsy I became at Golden and fearless. I applied this year because I knew in my artistic life I needed a swerve, to be open to a radical shift in your thinking. I can get entrenched in my way of thinking. I get uncomfortable when I get too much of a handle on it. I like to throw accident into my work, but I was getting pretty good at even the accident, and I thought, I really need a swerve. I have had not just the greatest fun, such a refreshing take on materials and paint, and like an openness that has come as a result of this. I can see that it's going to even just continue to build after I leave this residency.
If we think about the Great Pangea, and we think about how the world was all one landmass. I live in Atlanta, Georgia. All of that red dirt is the same red dirt that is in Africa. I think of that as like an imaginary land bridge from Georgia back to Africa, because that's part of why we're making art, right? To illustrate an idea, but also illustrate a thought process that then will connect with someone else. My name is Jamele Wright Sr, and I'm a 2023 artist resident at the Sam and Adele Golden Foundation for the Arts. I like big colors. I like really big colors. I'm draping them on the wall, then I tape them down, and then I paint glyphs or patterns on top of them. Then I'll take it to the other studio and then do the finishing layers. The paintings, I think, are going to really explode with the vibrancy and having that red clay behind it. What my process is to lay all of these pieces out. All of them are different in their color creation. But what I'm doing is I'm creating a palette. I draw on some of them. I put rubber cement on some of them. I scribble on some. I eventually will begin putting them on the wall and then thinking about how they're going to match together. It's not as important what you see now. What becomes important is how I begin to match them up. My process has changed here at the Golden Foundation for the Arts because of access. Access, I believe, changes the way we make art, but it also changes the ability to do certain things. Having full access to color has been really great. Access to mediums and access to the education that I've gotten here through all the staff at Golden Foundation has been really great, because I feel like I'm gonna be a different kind of painter when I leave here. Thinking about painting, thinking about being an artist, and thinking about working in Black abstraction. Because Black abstraction really isn't a thing, it's just abstraction. But it becomes Black abstraction when they see my body. And then the work obtains a narrative that often is not there. I was really humbled walking through Golden, through our tour. The fact that these people are making something for me so that I can express my point of view. That each one of those persons that were working in there, in this rural community, doesn't know me. That they're making something so that I can illuminate an idea. And that's really humbling to think about. No one says to the paint, man, you did a really good job there. They say that to me. But if it's not for Golden, then I don't have this opportunity. But also, I'm not able to meet those people, and those people aren't able to see me.